Look, I love a good to-do list as much as the next gal, but today I wanted to do a complete 180 and share a to-don't list. That is a list of 10 things I stopped doing to simplify my way to a happier, richer, and better life. Quitting these things allowed us to accomplish goals like eliminating $250,000 worth of debt over the course of 5 years, including all of our car, house, and student loan debts. And it also empowered me to heal and let go of my past, and in getting rid of 30 years of clutter, to break generational curses and to go from hoarder to minimalist. But most importantly, it's allowed me to build a life that I wake up excited to lead every single day, and I think that all of you watching this video deserve the exact same thing. So feel free to cherry pick your favorites from this list of 10 things to stop doing, and let's dive in. One of the best things I stopped doing was I stopped drinking a cup of coffee every single day. And it feels almost blasphemous to say this because most minimalism videos on YouTube always have this gorgeous B-roll of them making coffee and drinking coffee. And a lot of people act like you're committing a personal crime against them when you talk about quitting coffee.
You're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Many years ago, my husband and I stopped drinking takeaway coffee and started saving money by making our own coffee at home. And then at the beginning of this year, after reading an article about how coffee consumption temporarily reduces gray matter in the brain, we decided to run a 30-day challenge to cut coffee from our diet and see if we noticed any difference. I found that cutting coffee made a huge difference in my focus and anxiety levels throughout the day. So going forward, I decided that I would swap out my coffee for a much gentler black tea with 50% less caffeine. My husband does still enjoy the occasional cup of coffee, and sometimes I'll sit down and drink a cup with him, but overall, I've reduced my total coffee intake by around 99%. And although the money-saving aspect is great, with experts estimating that you could save anywhere from $600 to $1,400 a year by eliminating coffee completely, for me, it's also about feeling more focused, productive, and healthier throughout the day, which is a huge win in and of itself. And speaking of productivity, the next item on this list of things I've stopped doing is productive procrastination. That's a tongue twister. Procrastination. I've got to be honest, I didn't even know this was a thing until I saw an Instagram video of this girl going around her home and doing things like vacuuming and organizing her silverware drawer as a way to avoid doing the thing that she was really supposed to be doing. And I felt so called out because at that point I realized that I am 100% guilty of using productive procrastination as a way to avoid the things I am dreading in my own life. So knowing that this is a thing and having this label has really helped me notice when I'm using tidying or chores as a way to procrastinate, and it's actually helped me get better about nipping that behavior in the bud. And speaking of which, one thing that I don't procrastinate on anymore is negotiating with or switching service providers to save on my monthly expenses, which is why I've partnered with Mint Mobile for today's video. Have you ever thought, why the fork am I organizing my silverware drawer when I could be finding ways to save money on my sky-high cell phone bill instead? If so, let me tell you about Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month without sacrificing coverage, speed, or data. Mint is built on the nation's largest 5G network, and they're able to keep their prices low because they've cut out expensive middleman costs like retail stores and salespeople in favor of dealing directly with customers like you and me. If you're like me and you realize that you've been overpaying for crappy cell phone service, instead of organizing your silverware drawer, why not take 15 minutes to switch to Mint Mobile instead? It's super easy, and right now through the end of October, they're running a special limited time offer on their unlimited plan, which normally costs $30, but you can get for an additional 50% off their already super low price, which means that you'll only be paying $15 a month. I decided to switch to Mint Mobile after I got a cell phone bill that was way higher than I was expecting it to be due to hidden upcharges and fees. And thanks to Mint's digital eSIM cards, switching was super easy, and I was able to sign up and activate it immediately right from the comfort of my home. I am so happy that I said sayonara to my old company and switched to Mint Mobile instead, and I would never dream of gatekeeping a deal as good as this. So if you're looking to save tons of money on your phone plan every month, definitely grab this deal at Mint by getting the QR code at the bottom of the screen or by clicking the link that I've included down in the description box or pinned comment below. Thanks again to Mint Mobile, and let's move on to the next thing that I stopped doing on this list, which is buying dopamine decor. So for those of you who have never heard of this trend, dopamine decor is supposedly all about decorating your home with pieces that make you happy and show off your personality, and a bunch of social media influencers and home decor websites have been hailing dopamine decor as a welcome end to minimalism. Why is there so much hate towards minimalism? I just don't get it. Probably because they want to sell you a bunch of crap you don't need. Here's my problem with dopamine decor. I actually don't mind the colorfulness of it or the eccentricity of it, and in fact, even though I'm a minimalist, I actually encourage people to embrace color in their homes if that's truly what they love and what makes them happy. You don't have to stick to a neutral color palette to live a minimalist lifestyle. Minimalism as an aesthetic and the minimalist lifestyle are two totally different things. Although they overlap quite often, they don't have to. But then in regards to dopamine decor, a lot of the influencers that I see posting about this trend are encouraging overconsumption by constantly buying new things and bringing them into their home and decorating and redecorating and encouraging their followers to do the same. One thing to know about dopamine is that it's a hormone that creates this temporary spike in pleasure that fades away quite quickly. And if you want to create long-term happiness, there's actually a better hormone called serotonin to pay attention to that will give you a long-lasting feeling of happiness and well-being. So personally, I've found that instead of chasing instant gratification by buying a ton of trendy home or holiday decor, I'm much more satisfied with my home when I focus on creating functional spaces that foster long-term comfort and peace of mind. So I guess instead of dopamine decor, I go for serotonin decor instead, which keeps more money in my pocket and the clutter out of my home. Number 4. Getting my hair, nails, and eyebrows done. I used to change my hair color every year or so, and I would always go to the salon to get my eyebrows and my nails done. But after a while, I realized that I could save a lot of money by being more low maintenance on my hair and beauty routine. And so I grew out my hair dye and I just decided to stick with my natural color as a brunette, and I started doing my eyebrows and my nails at home. I will let you in on a little secret, which is that I've started going white up here on my temples, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that yet. So unless I end up looking as good as Rogue from X-Men, I might be contemplating dyeing my hair again in the future. But I will say that the past 20 years where I haven't been doing all of these things has probably saved me a lot of money. Actually, speaking of my hair and eyebrows, that leads me nicely to number 5 on this list, which is that I stopped caring what other people think about me. While 99% of the comments that I get here on my channel are nice and supportive and thoughtful, every once in a while I do get rude or critical comments on everything from the clothes that I wear, to the way that I decorate my home, to my appearance and my sense of personal style. And don't think that it's only on the internet that these things happen, because I've also had this happen in person, times where I've been looked down on or excluded, or people have been rude to me because of the way that I looked or dressed or whatever. And I'm a sensitive person, so these kinds of things used to bother me. But getting over that and not caring what other people think about me has saved me so much time and mental energy as well as money over the years. Because it means that I'm staying true and authentic to me instead of trying to build my life to fit in or look like someone else's. And if you struggle with this, I talk about that more in my video on the self-help books that have changed my life, and I can link that video up here for you if that's something you want to check out. Number 6, another thing I stopped doing that has saved us tons of money is to quit eating out all of the time. Now we think of going out to eat or ordering takeout or delivery as a treat for every once in a while instead of something that we do all the time. That means that we stopped paying for lunch at work and that we don't buy our kids school lunches but we learned to prepare our favorite meals at home to take with us instead. I also plan our meals every week, and that not only saves us money at the grocery store, but it also reduces stress around meal times. And here's a sample meal plan that I wrote for the week, and you can see how I made a big double batch of beef chili on Tuesday, and then my husband and I ate leftover chili for lunch on Wednesday, and we still had enough chili left over to make chili cheese dogs for dinner on Thursday, which in turn I planned ahead so that we would have enough leftover hot dogs for my kids to take to school for a fun lunch on Friday. You can also find the exact meal planner printable that I use for sale a la carte in the A to Zen Life shop, or it's also included in my 50-page minimalist budget bundle, which you can find linked below. So definitely check those out if meal planning to eat out less and save money is one of your goals. Number 7 on this list of things I stopped doing is that I stopped spending money without intention. Now, I was never someone who had a shopping addiction or who racked up thousands of dollars in credit card debt, but I did used to have a habit of going shopping for fun, or to blow off steam, or just buying things on a whim. Now, as a minimalist, when I think of or see something that I want to buy, what I'll do first is I will write it down on a list, and I'll give myself a little bit of time to cool down and to also do my research and really consider whether or not I want to bring that thing into my home and life. I actually caught myself doing this in real time at Target the other day because I headed to the store with a list to buy some coat hangers and a broiler pan, but then as I was passing the kitchen area, the Stanley Cup display caught my eye, and I have been thinking about getting a new water bottle for a while. Now, I'm a sucker for anything in this taupey green color, and it was a limited edition Hearth and Hand from Magnolia item, so I was definitely feeling a little bit of FOMO, especially because there were only 2 of them left on the shelf. So I actually put one in my basket to walk around with a little bit, but then after I went along to the water bottle aisle, I realized I wanted to research a little bit more to make sure I got a water bottle that I could be happy with for a very, very long time. So I ended up putting the Stanley Cup back, and I looked around and researched a few more days before I ended up getting the Yeti Rambler that I have now. I love this so much because it's leak proof. Like, I can turn it upside down and flop it all around and it doesn't leak at all, and it's easy to take off and drink out of it, and it doesn't have an annoying straw, because I find straws like really hard to clean, and it honestly annoys me, which is one of the big reasons why I didn't want the Stanley Cup. And then aside from this part where you would typically drink the cool liquids out of, you can also put hot liquids in this and drink it out of this piece. So there's 2 different lids that you can use, but they both have a really good seal. So I'm really glad that I was able to kind of step back and stop myself from making that impulse purchase, and that I was able then to find something that better fits my taste and my lifestyle instead. And speaking of lifestyles, if you're finding this video valuable, or you like videos on topics like simple living, decluttering, and saving money, I would love it if you would go down and hit the little red subscribe button and ring the bell to turn on all notifications so that you can join me here on my channel each week for more reality-based minimalism content. And I do so appreciate your likes, comments, and support. Let's move on to the next point. Number 8, buying things I can't afford with credit. So a while back, I posted a video on my Instagram page where I shared a few things that I don't buy as a minimalist. And that video went viral and is currently sitting at around 2 million views. But I got a lot of questions about one of my points, which was about spending with credit cards. And I just want to say that I do have and use a credit card, and I even have store credit cards like the Target Red Card that saves me 5% off all of my purchases there. But I would never buy something on credit if I didn't have the money to pay it off immediately. Even in my early 20s, after both of my parents had died and I was on my own, working multiple minimum wage jobs to get by, I never used money I didn't have to buy things on credit. The only exception to this being when I had to take out student loans to complete my master's degree. My philosophy has always been, if I can't afford to buy something with cash, then I can't afford to own it. And over the past 20 years, this philosophy has allowed me to grow my savings exponentially and build much more financial freedom. The 9th thing I stopped doing was I stopped collecting and hoarding things. I might be a minimalist now, but hoarding actually runs in my family, and Growing up, my family was very stuff focused. My dad loved to buy all sorts of antiques and gadgets, and he poured tons of money into things like vintage signs and collectibles and Corvettes and Cadillacs, as well as collectibles for my sister and I like Barbie dolls, Beanie Babies, and Swarovski crystals. And then on top of being told that all of this stuff was really important to hold on to, we were also taught that all of this stuff would be so valuable in the future that eventually it was going to pay for my sister and I to go to college. After I lost my parents, grandparents, and my childhood home, I became completely unable to let go of anything because of the perceived sentimental and financial value. And when I finally did begin to heal and let go of all of that stuff, it was so shocking and heartbreaking to me to realize that all of this stuff that my father and my grandparents had poured so much hope and money into buying for me was not only not valuable, it had actually lost value over time to the point where it was worth maybe a half or a third as much as what they had paid for it brand new decades before. And that's why nowadays I focus on collecting happy memories instead of physical possessions. And finally, number 10 on this list of things I stopped doing is that I stopped making excuses. So in the past, I always saw myself as a victim who didn't have any control over the bad things that kept happening to me in my life. And yes, there were some very bad and very sad things that happened to me that were completely outside of my control. But what I failed to do was I failed to pay attention to and address the things that I could control that would have improved my life. There's a quote that I love from the 13th century poet and scholar Rumi that goes, "Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open?" And I love it because it reminds me of the many painful and pivotal moments where I realized that the only thing standing between myself and my dreams and goals was me. For example, when I realized that I could no longer touch my toes at age 40, I was able to overcome my lazy couch potato habits and start a morning exercise routine that has made a huge difference in my mood and energy levels. You can find out more about that in this video that I've linked over here for you. And if you haven't already, please make sure to give this video a like and drop me a comment down below with something that you have stopped doing that has made your life happier, better, or richer in some way. I'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.